It's time for another Dice Tower review with Z. Garcia.
Evolution is a really interesting card game. It's a game with a lot of theme, a lot of interaction. I like it quite a bit. And now we have a new expansion for the game, Evolution Flight. In Evolution Flight, as you might suspect, you are making avian species, which you could not before, and the expansion adds new cards and such. I'm going to give you an overview of the expansion. I will not be teaching you how to play the game, so if you don't know how to play Evolution, I recommend you look up a video on how to play Evolution itself. But if you want to hear about this expansion, stick around. The Flight expansion includes some flight trait tiles here, which act just like a card, but they're actually a tile. They include these boards, which is how you represent that a species you have is an avian species. It includes several new cards, about 40 new cards or so, and then it includes a secondary space for food here, which is called the cliff. So the game works just like the game normally works, except now you can make an avian species, and the only difference is, well, besides the fact that it flies, to make one of these you have to discard 2 cards, not 1 card. So it comes into play with this trait, which is the flight trait, and as you can see here, it says that a carnivore has to have flight to attack your flying species. If your species is a non-carnivore, you can choose to take food from the cliff. And by the way, at the cliff, we add 1 food per player every round. So in a game of 4 players, for example, we would add that much food, 4 food every round. If your flying species is a carnivore, then you can discard a card to negate Warning Call, negate Symbiosis, negate Climbing for this species' next attack. Alright? So that's what that does. And again, it comes into play with one of these, Flight, and it counts as one of the 3 traits your species can have. So that's one of the main differences, okay? You can eat from the perch, you can now make birds, which come in play with Flight, and it gives you a few new options. One more thing I want to mention about the birds themselves before I show you some cards here is that, as you can see down here, the birds can have a maximum body size of only 3, and these spaces down here mean that you have to take enough food to support the size of your animal before you can actually start eating it. And so the ones up here you're going to bank. The ones down here, which you need to fulfill first, will just get discarded. And that is basically energy you are spending to sustain wings, to sustain a winged animal, alright? So let me show you some of these cards. So here we have some of the new cards. I'm not going to be showing you everything, and I'm not going to go over every little detail, but I just wanted you to take a look at some of these. Basically, one new thing you're going to see is that a lot of the cards say what that they do something for land species and for avian species, and they're different depending on the type of critter it is. And so land species here with the nesting can take a plant food from the food bank or the watering hole. If you're an avian species, you can take 2 meat food. You have camouflage now, which is a new way to hide from carnivores. So camouflage and good eyesight typically negates camouflage, which lets you attack that species. We have a brood parasite here, which does nothing if you're a land species, but if you're an avian, then before the food cards are revealed, you gain 1 population and you get a plant or meat food if you have any other birds. So, good if you are going for a few birds, which is very useful. And then a new card type, an event, of which there are 2, and these basically allow you to discard the card to do something, pretty much from your hand. So, Seed Dispersal here lets you discard the card during play cards phase, and after the traits have been revealed, of course, and after the food, you place food in the watering hole equal to the number of avian species in play, and then you draw a card. So throw a little more food into play if you feel like you need it, especially if you can take advantage of it by grabbing food early. And then the other one here is Dive Bombing, which I've seen put to great use, which is you discard the card during the play cards phase after all the traits have been revealed, and you feed one of your avian species, then you draw a card carnivores attack someone else. Boom, right away. Really nasty stuff. So that is Dive Bomb. And so that's basically it. The game works the same way it did before. Have the most points at the end of the game, and you win. Evolution Flight, I think, strikes a really nice balance between not adding too much to the game and changing the game, but adding a good amount and really being worthwhile, being an interesting addition, enough of an addition. I like the idea of adding avian species. I think it's interesting how they're more expensive, they're harder to maintain, but when the food starts to dry up, then you have that cliff that you can go and eat from, and the food sometimes, depending on the groupthink, can really pile up. But then typically people jump on avian species, and so that food dwindles. Or, in one game I made early on a carnivore avian species and just went to town on everybody, and folks weren't ready to combat that. And so I think it adds a really interesting dynamic to the whole game. I like the new cards. I like the idea of now having birds. It's a great expansion. I highly recommend this one. If you like Evolution and you want more good stuff, then Evolution Flight is definitely a worthwhile expansion. Check this one out, folks. Evolution Flight, 2 thumbs up.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.